Hey team, this is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. Hope you all are having a great week. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about marathon running, hitting the wall, and what you really need to do in order to not continue to deal with this particular hindrance that a lot of marathoners have to deal with. And I certainly have dealt with it as well in my own career. I will say that there really is no such thing as hitting the wall. Okay, what it is really is a combination of a few things, and most importantly, you're running out of glycogen. Okay, the marathon itself is a sugar event. If you have not trained properly, and it's not only just running out of glycogen, running out of sugars, but it's also improper pacing early on in the race itself. It's going too aggressive too soon. It's running too aggressive and not having prepared properly enough to be able to handle that particular race effort, that you're pushing your body, trying to push your body too fast in the race too soon. And you know, earlier on in my career, when I was trying to run under 2 hours and 22 minutes for the marathon, in 2007, that was kind of my goal. It was a USA Track and Field Olympic Trials B standard time, which was, you know, for you to be able to compete at the Olympic trials, you needed to run 2 hours and 22 minutes flat. USA Track and Field wasn't going to fund your way to that event, but you fully qualified if you were fully qualified if you had run 2 hours and 22 minutes or faster for the marathon. If you had run 2 hours and 20 minutes flat or faster, USA Track and Field would fund your flight, fund your hotel, support you with food. So those were the two. The Olympic Trials A standard was 2 hours and 20 minutes flat, and the B standard was 2 hours and 22 minutes flat. So my goal was that. I knew I was a 2:43 marathoner. I needed to get to 2 hours and 22 minutes to qualify for the 2008 USA Track and Field Olympic Trials. Long story short, I ended up running 2 hours and 19 minutes and 35 seconds at the 2007 California International Marathon. I finished 4th place and the top American in that race. Okay, it was a great day. It was a great achievement for me, but I achieved the Olympic Trials A standard time 28 days after the Olympic Trials, 2008 Olympic Trials were held, because the 2008 USA Olympic Trials Marathon was held in November of 2007 in New York City. So I understand this event. I understand what you all are dealing with when it comes to this topic of hitting the wall. Yes, you definitely can hit the wall, but what it is a combination. Like I said, it's a combination of you running out of sugars. It could be because you were far too aggressive too early in the race. And third, a big problem is you just simply were not prepared enough. You had not properly prepared enough in training to be able to handle the types of aggressive pacing that you were throwing at yourself in the race. A lot of times we make the mistake of going out far too fast in the early stages of the race. You're not going to win a marathon in the first 10K or the first half marathon, or even the first 20 miles of the race, the first 32 kilometers. You need to be able to really be able to sustain that pace, that marathon goal race pace that you're going for, and be as efficient as you possibly can be in the race. So again, you have to be very cognizant of your pacing early on in the race. If you've done your homework and training, say you're trying to break the 3-hour marathon, and you've prepared properly, you've been able to really run well below 6 minutes and 52 seconds per mile, or well under 4 minutes and 16 seconds per kilometer in training. You've spent time running preferably under 6-minute mile pace at times in training, and say around 3:45K pace in training, so that you can make that goal sub 3-hour marathon pace a reality. So yes, you have to do your homework in training. If you've been very efficient at training well below goal race pace, you're not going to hit a wall. You're going to have a much better chance of success of not hitting the so-called wall that we're talking about here. If you pay attention to hydration in the race itself, if it's a hot day, it's even going to be even more difficult to be able to hit that goal race pace that you're trying to hit for the marathon and not hit the so-called wall. If you're hydrating well and you're taking in additional calories in the race, and you can do that through a combination of ingesting in those sports drinks, also ingesting preferably 3 gel packs throughout a 26.2 mile or 42.2 kilometer race. So that's another big mistake that a lot of athletes are making, and the mistakes that I made in the past trying to get the marathon right is I would skimp on this critical step. I would not hydrate well enough in the race. Second mistake I made was I was running far too aggressive too soon, and I was not properly ready to handle that particular pace. And I obviously went far too anaerobic too soon in the race, hit the so-called wall. Okay, I say it's a so-called wall because, again, if you've done everything correctly in training, you've hydrated well, you've practiced hydrating well during your long runs, you've started running those long runs at a faster pace, not every single weekend, every other weekend. You've started varying up the paces of your long runs. You've spent a longer period of time at your anaerobic threshold. You've started doing longer tempo runs, so that's training the body to be able to handle longer periods of time running at your lactate threshold, at that point where you start to build up lactic acid in the bloodstream. If you've done those things and you've been more patient in the early stages of your race, and you haven't went too anaerobic too soon in your marathon, you're not going to hit You're not going to hit the wall. Okay, I didn't hit a wall when I ran 2:19. I didn't hit a wall when I ran 2:26 in Indianapolis at the Indianapolis Monumental Marathon in 2011. What I did hit was I had to jump in a porta-john when I was running with leaders at mile 18. Okay, so I made the big mistake of not properly eating my breakfast 3 hours, preferably 3 hours before my marathon start. So again, big mistake on my part. I lost about 3 or 4 minutes in that race, but finished 2:26, finished 5th overall, did not hit a wall in that race. Again, if you are training well below your goal race pace, your goal marathon race pace in training, you're patient enough and you've set up your training properly, you're going to set yourself up for success because you have a legitimate plan. You've been following a legit plan for the past 16 weeks leading up to your main marathon. You've tapered correctly. You haven't went too anaerobic and run too aggressive too early in the early stages of that marathon. You've paid attention to your hydration and your caloric intake during the marathon itself. You've kept yourself relaxed. You've reminded yourself to keep your facial muscles, your shoulders, and your body itself as relaxed as you possibly can in the race. You've maintained your composure and your form during the race. You're not going to experience the wall. So hitting the wall, running the marathon is you have to take, it takes time. You have to be patient with yourself, but you also have to realize that in order to get this particular event down correctly and to hit a personal best in the marathon distance, you have to be doing a lot of things correctly in training. You have to pay attention to your recovery period after your hard VO2 max workouts each week, especially after you do a harder long run. Whether you do a harder long run or even an easy long run, that takes a lot out of the body. So the importance of proper rest, proper nutrition, following a legitimate plan so you know what you need to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis is absolutely critical if you want to get the marathon right. I have resources on RunDreamAchieve.com, training plans, running courses, as well as resources below all of these videos here on the channel that are there for you to set you up for success so that you go into your marathon in peak shape, fully capable, and that you know what you need to do in order to not hit that wall. The other athletes around you, you can't control what the weather's going to be like on the morning of the race, but you can control your thoughts. You can control how you react to pace changes in the race. You are also always under control of your pacing. So if these other athletes take off, if you're trying to break a 3-hour marathon, for example, and somebody goes off 4:45 the first mile, I'd highly recommend you not go with them. Okay, so again, you're not trying to run a 2:06. You're trying to run under 3 hours, 6:52 mile pace, 4:16 per kilometer pace. That's just for example. So when I was trying to run under 2 hours and 22 minutes, I wouldn't pay attention either to athletes that were going out that fast the first few miles of the race. Again, you're not going to win the marathon in the first 10K or even the half marathon. Really, what really counts in that marathon is that last 10K and being able to sustain and you know, pick up the pace and get to the finish line in record time. So I hope this video on the hitting the wall and trying to run the marathon more effectively has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, anything else you need me to cover more specifically, leave me a comment below this video. If you're brand new to the channel, hit that bell icon and the subscribe button, so when I make a new video, you'll be notified of it. And I wish you guys and gals all the very best in your upcoming marathons, and I will talk to you all in the next video.